I think is very important. Here's some verbatim suggestions of high school students. Quote, I would plan something for myself that I would only do if I got straight A's. So I would sort of, think about pairing the homework with, later reward. I would set goals, break the project up into pieces. I will say this, and I know there's not opportunity for questions and discussion, categorizing what students, in this open-ended just tell us that they would do was very difficult, and also made me realize some of the limitations of the process model, which have these 5 neat, distinctions, but actually in reality end up being, not distinctions that are very well respected by high school students who tell us that they do, more than one strategy at once, or, things that are hard to categorize, things that are kind of on the border. So let me just tell you about the last stage, which doesn't need much telling at all, because this is really just good old-fashioned don't do it, or do it, depending on what you're trying to. As the Buddhists would say, and as the Buddhists would disrecommend, this is simply crushing mind with mind, right? And I think, just in thinking about the work that was presented earlier, in some ways, this discussion of, early self-regulation leading to sort of higher order, more sophisticated ways of regulation, I think of this as kind of, executive function in its rawest form. There's almost no art or strategy to it at all. What does that look like if you're talking about high school students? Don't be a baby and just study. Just deal with it and study. Just do it. Just focus and get my work done. And we actually use the word just in our coding manual as a sign that really kids were, talking about this last stage. I want to end by saying that, whatever strategy it is that you use to sit in the front of the lecture hall, to, turn your phone off, to look at the teacher, not look out the window, to frame a situation in a particular way, it of course helps to do some advanced planning. And I think that the work of Gabrielle Ettingen and Peter Gollwitzer could not be more influential for myself as a scientist, as well as almost everybody that I know who works on behavior change. So I will just quickly say that their work, where students are encouraged in a very systematic way, goals, and to hope to act in a certain situation. So goal setting and goal planning seems to, for example, in our joint work, in a random assignment, placebo-controlled, longitudinal field study over the course of half of an academic year, this brief intervention is able to improve GPA from school records, as well from school records, school attendance, being on time, and teachers who are blind to condition, their ratings of classroom conduct during that semester. It is not a miracle. So, subsequently, behavior returns, and there's, the difference between the control group and the intervention group erode to non-significance. But I do think it's really a promising direction in order for us to put everything together that's about these higher level metacognitive strategies. So all of the things that I talked about in the process model, can they get wrapped in a way in the kind of mental contrasting and implementation intention work that Gabrielle and Peter are doing. And then finally, I will just say, to expand the scope even broader than what I've tried to do already, I believe that there's a role for habit formation that has just begun to get some traction on. In our work, we find that more self-controlled individuals, more self-controlled students in particular, have stronger study habits. They study at the same time every day. They study in the same place every day. My daughter is an exception to this. She feels like it's much better to wake up every day and decide on the spot what you're going to do and how you're going to do it in a more reactive way. And, I'll show her this figure when I get home, which is that more self-controlled kids tend to have these habits, and those habits mediate to a large extent the positive effects on self-control on things like studying when things are difficult, and also grades. And so let me end with this slide from William James, and in his classic work in 1899 said, virtues are habits as much as vices. Our nervous systems grow to the way in which they have been exercised, just as a sheet of paper, once creased or folded, tends to fall forever afterward into the same identical folds. So let the children learn the process model strategies, and let them learn mental contrasting and implementation intentions. Let them learn the folds that we think will set them up for success later.